You are tuning into Sports Geek with Sponelo Ngobo, only on Nirvana World FM. Your beat, your music.
The views, opinions, or comments expressed on this program does not reflect the views, opinions, or comments of the radio station or its management.
Wayutwa taba, injalo lento, losomnetso. Halala South Africa, halala Bafana, halala Hugo Bruce, halala Ronwen Williams, halala all Bafana fans at large. Yes, Bafana, they are on the mission of collecting maximum points in as far as 2026 World Cup qualifiers are concerned. They got their campaign in style last week, Friday, the 21st of March, up north in Limpopo, when they took on our neighbors in the foremanship of Lesotho at the Queen. Oh boy, did Bafana bring on their A game. Oh yes, they did it in style. So as the Limpopo fans, they did not disappoint. They came out in numbers to support the home side, Bafana. They filled up Peter Mokaba Stadium to the rafters, and in so doing, they pushed Bafana over the line, which was enough to see Bafana beating our neighbors Lesotho Dikwena by 2-0. And then 4 days later, Bafana they invaded West Africa. Benin, they were next on the queue, and Bafana, oh boy, did they do well. They beat the West Africans in the foremanship of Benin by the same 2-0. So we can say Bafana that they definitely on the flying mode. They are flying, they are collecting the maximum points. They got their mission off to a great start. 100% out of 2 games. The target was 6 points, and guess what? They got all the 6 points. However, on the eve of Bafana taking on the West Africans in the foremanship of Benin, the news broke out in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the news went viral in West Africa and Nigeria. That Bafana, there was something dodgy about Bafana, what they did in as far as the Lesotho game is concerned, which took place the 21st of March up in Limpopo, Peter Mokaba Stadium, which Bafana won by a convincing 2-0. The whole South Africa was in the panic mode. There was a media frenzy, and for one, I was in denial. I thought, no, this must be a fake news. I was in complete denial. I didn't want to believe what was said, that Bafana, they were facing a possibility of forfeiting 3 points in that Bafana Lesotho game. But with all that and more, we do have our sports correspondent in the foremanship of Mark Xolisa. We'll get to hear what is that all about. What is this panic mode that has struck all the Bafana fans, the whole South Africa in as far as World Cup qualifiers are concerned. Good morning and welcome to Nirvana World FM. Talk to us. What is this panic mode is all about? This media friends, this fear that is among the South Africans and the whole Bafana fans. Good morning, Xolisa.
Good morning, sir. Before I go to the saga of Udedva, let me first and foremost send my sincere condolences to our very own Gudevo, a Kaizer Chiefs supporter who passed on to
last weekend. Yes.
And may his soul rest in peace, because in Africa or in African culture, if you give birth to a child, that child is not only yours, it is ours too. That child belongs to the whole nation. So I can feel the pain that the family is going through. The black cloud that is hanging over that family is not only theirs, it is also ours. And may the rivers, the mountains, the flowers, the trees, and the ever-changing seasons that define us shine and bring the spirit of Ubuntu amongst us at large, regardless of which changes about. Going back now to the saga that we saw on social media, this was raised by Nigerian friends on social media, and they tagged FIFA.
Am I surprised? Why am I not surprised? Typical Nigerians. Why am I not surprised? It can only be Nigeria.
It was their sense who picked this up. And I asked myself, how did they pick this up? Because these things are internal affairs usually. And I think maybe someone might have linked that legal information to one of the Nigerians, and the whole Nigerian fans picked that up.
And they ran with it. Typical Nigerians.
Yes. So what happens now is that Debza was sitting on a second yellow card prior to the game against Lesotho.
Yes.
He picked one against Zimbabwe, I think that was last year, and the one against Benin. So
Yes.
general, if a player, let me put it in simple terms. Here in South Africa or in the PSL, if the player receives 4 yellow cards,
How many?
fifth match,
4 years, okay.
Yeah, the match number 5 is going to be a suspension.
Yes.
Let's go to CAF game, AFCON qualifier.
Yes.
If the player receives 3 yellow cards, the 4th match will be a suspension. Let's come to FIFA matches, which is FIFA World Cup qualifier. If the player receives 2 yellow cards, the 3rd match is a suspension. The confusion now is here. There's a rule that was implemented by. In fact, it was there for FIFA. As for implementation, I'm not too sure about that. It says there's a thing called clean slate. They named it a clean slate.
Yes.
It says the yellow card accumulated during the qualifiers will be wiped clean ahead of the final round of matches. As a result, even though Mukwena had 2 yellow cards, he was eligible to play against Lesotho. And this partner, the clean slate, is the one that I think the team manager, Vincent, considered when we were about to play in Lesotho. Maybe he might have been confused with this little one, even though I'm not too sure whether this rule has been implemented or it is just stated there on the FIFA. That's where now the confusion started. Now, a team manager should be well aware how many yellow cards his player has got,
Exactly.
and which players are on suspension and which players are on red cards.
Yes.
When Bafana is not playing, he sits in his office,
Yes.
do his administrative work.
Yes.
I will also go to the coach. The coach should also have a very good understanding and communication between him and the team manager, because the team manager will give him information and he's going to use whatever information that is given to him by the team manager. So in this case, I believe there was a missing link between the coach and the team manager. Number 3, we've got an administrator, the one person who deals with the administration thing of football. That person has been well aware of what was going on with Utedra. Now, there are some people now who are questioning Utedра's honesty. Let's look at Utebo Khobugwena as a player. Utebo Khobugwena plays for Mamelodi Sundowns. Can you give me 2 minutes? Ma'am? Hello?
Sorry, Xolisa. We are sorry for that technical glitch. Xolisa somehow had to take the call. We seem to be having some issues with him. Let's try and see what we can do regarding that discussion. Oh yes, halala South Africa, halala Bafana. We're in conversation with our sports correspondent in the former chair of Xolisa, but we seem to be having some technical glitch. But in his absence, luckily, I'm not flying solo. I'm covered with so much talent around here. Modiba Peter is with me as always here in the studio. So surely in the absence of Xolisa telephonically, Modiba Peter will take care of the business. So he will cover us and take us through in as far as this Tebogo Mokoena saga is concerned. Modiba, I'm sure you heard Xolisa on the phone saying that there seemed to have been some misunderstanding between the Bafana team manager and Bafana head coach in as far as Tebogo Mokwena's bookings are concerned. What is your take in this whole Tebogo Mokoena saga, scandal, Tebogo Mokoena gate, whatever you want to call it?
Very interesting, because if you can check, I'm not so sure. It's a bit of a turmoil, because I'm not so sure if the coach also knew Tebogo Mokoena had 2 yellow cards going into the game against Lesotho.
Yes.
I'm not so sure Tebogo also had the issue of 2 yellow cards. He knew about it
As a player now.
As a player now.
So
So also the team manager as well. I think is at fault here, because he should have known way better that Tebogo Mokoena was seated on 2 yellow cards, and definitely he should be out against Lesotho. But it wasn't to be. I think some bit of negligence. That's where it creeps in, that the team manager did not do his job.
So from your side, you strongly believe that the Bafana team manager Vincent Tseka dropped the ball this time around?
Definitely dropped the ball, because of Bafana currently. They're doing so well.
We don't need this negativity.
We don't need that negativity, because in the past, when we had the likes of Pitso Mosimane, we failed to qualify for the World Cup.
That was way back in 2012.
You see, it was long ago, so we don't want such incident. So this time around, because of we've done well, Hugo Bruce has just brought in a bronze medal back at home. We don't need such drama, so we just need to qualify. Because of we still have advantages going forward. So we qualify, we collect points, as many points as possible, because of Hugo Bruce has done well ever since he took over, hasn't tasted a defeat except one defeat, but against Rwanda, if I remember very well, 2-0 away from home. But then ever since, we haven't lost, and you can see even in the rankings of Africa, we are third, which is very interesting.
So from your side, you strongly believe that Bafana, our team manager Vincent Tseka, should definitely fall on his sword and should take the blame for this blunder?
Definitely, because of it took me back to, I can come back home a little bit with Mamelodi Sundowns game against Kukui United. Remember how the admin also failed the Mamelodi Sundowns by double booking the stadium, whereas the fixture was long released 3 weeks before the encounter can take place. So they both had negligence and they failed dismally there.
Oh, so there you have it, South Africa. Our sports analyst in the formanship of Modiba Peter squarely put the blame on the Bafana team manager, Vincent Tseka, that definitely was caught sleeping on duty. He did not do his behind the scenes work. Surely he gets paid to take care of these things, but he should have known better. He should definitely keep records. Mang is sitting on one booking, two bookings, who is eligible, especially in the tournament, in this fixture where we're going to play back-to-back fixtures, playing on Friday, 4 days down the line, we're going to play at Benin. So surely, team manager should be on top of his game, know exactly who's sitting on how many bookings, who's eligible for the call-up.
In some of the fans' opinion, they'll be saying it's a sabotage. Maybe they're trying to sabotage the president, is it Tony Jordan, also the coach Hugo Bruce as well. So that's where I think he dropped the ball dismally. So we're so unhappy, we're so panicking on Tuesday. What are we going to do?
The whole country was panicking.
You see,
I'm still panicking.
You see, and then also had the chance to listen to Velilo Mnyandu, our SABC journalist, stating that Nigeria should have lodged the complaint 2 hours after the Lesotho encounter. And another option were that within the 24-hour space, that complaint should have been lodged. So this time around, they lodged the complaint after those hours that have been stated. So I think by the looks of things, we're still awaiting the outcome from FIFA, but we stand a chance though to win and not be deducted 3 points.
So it is official that Lesotho, they missed the timelines, the 2 hours to notify the match commissioner and the 24 hours to submit the official complaint. So on that technicality, it looks like Bafana, they might escape that, getting their 3 points deducted and be given to Lesotho.
Yes.
But be that as it may, can FIFA still go on and take it upon themselves to say, Bafana did not play by the rules? We as the overseeing body, we're still going to do something about you being the naughty boys this time around, and still take 3 points and then not give it to anyone. Where to from here? Yes, we know, but Lesotho, and they missed out on the timelines, on the technicality. So there's no way that Lesotho will get that 3 points, even if it were to be deducted from Bafana. But now, South Africa versus FIFA now.
Yes,
that's where we are. Can FIFA still go on and take it upon themselves to do some cleaning in as far as Bafana being for Bafana sleeping on duty?
It's a tricky situation, to be honest. Remember, I don't know if it was in 2016 or somewhere where it was a World Cup qualifier as well.
Yes.
Ghana, we had a issue with, currently as we are having the issue with Nigeria, it was the issue with Ghana where we won 1-0 after they said, I don't know if it was us who won 1-0 or Ghana who won 1-0, where Rushin Diriek considered a penalty. Then it was said that the game was going to be replayed. But
we were playing against Senegal.
Oh, it was Senegal.
It was Senegal. I believe that game was played in Limpopo, Peter Mokaba Stadium, where referring to the game that we had to replay.
Yes.
Which it was also the World Cup qualifier. We won that match, and then
boom, like
FIFA decided to order the replay.
And then they never allocated us points, and then it was said that and we needed that to win because of to qualify. But then the Senegal were the ones who qualified. So it took me back to that majority of us as South African fans were thinking we're going to win the case, but it wasn't the case. So I'm thinking, yes, in terms of the rules, the 2 hours and 24 hours that were stated, that it favors us that they didn't lodge the complaint on time. So Nigeria, Ifunine, what are they doing as well? Poking Lesotho to push the matter. So it's a bit of a confusion as well. So, but we all know the battle between us and Nigerians and Ghanas, it's not good, but hopefully it can go our way. We'll await the outcome from FIFA, and we can also alert the listeners as time goes.
So at the moment, we are still holding breath. We are not at, yes, Lesotho, we are safe in Yan, but FIFA, we are still not out of the woods. So anything can still happen. FIFA can still come back and take the responsibility upon themselves to deal with South Africa and maybe deduct that 3 points. And maybe the least that we will get is the fine, which will be okay with us as long as they do not deduct that 3 points. But just to go back to our relationship with the FIFA, in as far as the World Cup qualifiers are concerned, I don't think it is of the best. Just you have touched on the Senegal game, which we won, and then FIFA came back and ordered the replay, and then it is history now that Senegal, they beat us on the replay. They overruled the referee's decision, of course, of the game of which we won, and then we lost on the replay. And then on the last World Cup, remember that Bafana Ghana, a penalty issue. We're hoping that FIFA, they will return the favor and say, okay, South Africa, we did you guys badly in the previous World Cup qualifiers against the Senegal game. Let's overrule the referee that penalty that was awarded to Ghana in the previous World Cup qualifiers. Yet again, we found wanting FIFA not ruling in our favor. So now we can say that in the past two incidents, South Africa versus FIFA ruling, South Africa or Bafana had been found wanting. We had lost two cases in as far as FIFA is concerned. So if that trend is anything to go by, I think it is safe to start preparing ourselves life without that 3 points, because if I look at our history, FIFA, they might still go on but actually 3 points. So we have to prepare for the life without that 3 points.
And I'm looking at the standings currently now as you're busy dishing out those stats. We are currently on 13 points, number one.
Yes.
Then followed by Rwanda, Benin, they're both on 8 points. So which means if the 3 points is deducted, so we are left with 10 points.
Yes.
And I had the interesting news that all the 4 matches that are left, so whether home or away, we will play them here in South Africa.
Yes, that's confirmed.
So which gives us that edge of saying we must just win all those 4 matches and then we progress to the World Cup.
Oh yes, I believe our first qualifying game come September will be against the very same Lesotho, which will be followed by guess who? Nigeria.
A crash game to be very personal.
Followed by Nigeria. Yes, I can confirm that our last 4 games will be played here in South Africa against Lesotho, Nigeria, Nabo or Zimbabwe. So South Africa, they've got that home ground advantage. We can count on that. So personally, if I were to give the advice to the South Africans, I will say let's start preparing for life without that 3 points. Because one way or another, Bafana, they were on the wrong.
Yes.
They were on the wrong. Yes, they may use the excuse that FIFA did not avail the bookings, the records for the bookings to the federations. Normally, I believe the CAF, they normally avail the bookings, the records that Modiba Peter is sitting on 2 yellow cards. But this time around, it is reported that FIFA did not avail that list. So Bafana somehow did not have that information available to them. But like you rightfully said, the team manager gets paid for such things. He should take it upon himself to keep the records, knowing that and assist the head coach. Coach, as you announce your squad, be advised that Mang is might be a little bit ineligible to play because he's sitting on 1 or 2 whatever yellow cards. So be that as it may, as much as FIFA did not avail that list, but we strongly believe that the team manager, the onus is sitting with the team manager to do his spade work to ensure that we do not find ourselves in this dilemma and this panic mode that we are in right now. Just imagine if we were certain that those 13 points are ours, no one's going to come and take any 3 points. We'll be confident that maybe we are sitting at only needing maybe just 1 win to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. But now we are in limbo.
We are in limbo by true, because of if I were to pretend that the 3 points have been deducted, so which means everyone is going to play everyone here. So mathematically, when you check Lesotho number 5, 6 points. Nigeria, which means you are all playing for 12 points. So anything that they get here, they can be able to overtake us, which we don't want. So currently, we just need to pick up those points and move on and progress. We haven't tasted that World Cup qualification in for a very, very long time, and it will be good to see the likes of Boronan Williams, which have never played in the World Cup, to do well and then represent the country as he did during AFCON, as he was the goalkeeper of the tournament and player of the tournament as well. So it will be nice.
It will definitely It will be definitely a nice feeling as far as Bafana are concerned. Talking of Bafana qualifying for the FIFA World Cup, remember we last did that successfully way back in 2002. Yes, in 2010 we qualified on the issue of being the host, but qualifying on fair play the last time we did that was way back in 2002. Like I did mention at the opening of the show that we cannot forget that Ruling by FIFA against Senegal. We were to replay the match, even though we did beat Senegal up in Peter Mokaba Stadium. And then the last qualification, Ghana, each the penalty. We felt we were hard done, but it wasn't to be. So we've been experiencing a lot of Amper Marnis Tamper situations of late. So it is the first time after a very long time that Bafana are sitting in such a drive seat in as far as the FIFA World Cup qualifications are concerned. It is all thanks to their mentor in the form and shape of the Belgian-born head coach in the form and shape of Hugo Broos. Definitely, Bafana, they're in the driving seat, they're in the better space since Hugo Broos came into the fixture. But with all that being said and done, with all that negativity of the possibility of Bafana being dogged that 3 points, how do you overall see the chances of Bafana making it to that FIFA World Cup next year's FIFA World Cup? Do we really stand a realistic chance if you are now being impartial, if you are now being honest, not using your heart, not using your emotions, just realistically looking at the stats, what is in front of you, prepare talking the life after the 3 points should FIFA go on and deduct the 3 points? How do you fancy South Africa's chances?
We still stand a huge chance. Like I said, those home games, despite some of them being away matches playing here in South Africa, that will give us an edge because of I'm also relying on our 12 men behind the stands, the fans. I think they'll come in numbers and pack those venues. Just like, as you know, Hugo Broos has brought that success, have brought that confidence. You remember in the past we used to feel discouraged saying, hey, Bafana, Abasaraga, that ball that we saw in the past when they won AFCON in 1996. This time around, I think we saw even at Peter Mokaba, we never saw it coming that the fans will come in numbers and be packed to the rafters, but they came in numbers, they rallied behind Bafana. Although against Lesotho, they were not clinical. That's what I said, it's that calamity is very important. The players must just become inside the box. The likes of Yorelebo Mufuke and Jaden Adams, they managed to put the ball in the back of the net. Although in the first half, they missed plenty of chances. So I also saw against Benin, we're playing away from home, but then the game looked a bit tired in the first half, but second half came alive because of the coach made some few subs. That's where I saw the likes of Jaden Adams coming in from the bench, and then he scored. Even yesterday, he scored in his local team. We'll talk later there. So, but then I was so impressed. Our chances are coming at handy that will definitely be qualify, despite the 3 points that may be or may not be deducted. Only FIFA has the answer. But all in all, we must just stay focused. We must just put our head high. Make sure that every match that comes, 3 points we collect, and then we progress forward.
There you have it, South Africa. Our sports analyst in the form and shape of Madiba Peter says, come hell or high water, let FIFA take that 3 points. He says he still fancies Bafana chances of qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by America, Mexico, and Canada come next year. You touched on a very good point that since Hugo Broos took over Bafana coaching job, he has brought that positive vibe. He has brought that confidence even to the fans. If you were to rate Bafana head coach Hugo Broos out of 10, what will you give him?
I'm looking at some of the dubious decisions that he likes to make. So for me, yes, he's a straight talker. 100% I believe that. But sometimes some of his decisions are very, very controversial, where he likes to contradict himself. So I think if he can work on that and balance that, because there are certain players who are not playing. Currently, I can name Tsogofatso Mabasa, who's on form. He's just scored a hat-trick in the Nedbank Cup, hat-trick in the Betway Premiership. When Pirates won 8-1 against Marumo Gallants, that's where I'm trying to scrutinize him. But coach, you are not fair. Give the poor player a chance. He deserves a real chance because he's amongst the list of the top goal scorers in the Betway Premiership. What more must he do for him to earn that cap? So Ikram Reynolds in the first, we complained that the player hasn't been called by the coach, but because of that criticism from the fans, then he was pressurized to bring back Ikram Reynolds, who's doing well, currently seated on 9 goals. So I also question some of the selections earlier recently. Ricardo Goss, SuperSport are not doing well. At some point, he was seated on the bench. Tagazane Mbanjwa was brought in, and then he kept 5 out of 6 clean sheets. So he came back. SuperSport are struggling. They're losing matches despite having won 4-1 against Kaizer Chiefs, where we saw the coach Gavin Hunt was celebrating 1,000 matches as a head coach. Unfortunately, this time around, he's been sacked. So the inclusion of Ricardo Goss there, that's why I'm questioning that, because of Sage Stevens is doing well as Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch.
Yes.
This is a part where they should have called in Serge Stevens. If he can improve that part, then I'm happy. But currently, I will give him 9 out of 10.
How many?
9 out of 10.
There you have it, South Africa. Our sports analyst Modiba Peter has just scored Bafana head coach 9 out of 10. That is a great pass rate indeed, in as far as especially considering the tough job that Hugo Broos has of coaching the national team Bafana. You touched on a very good point, which takes me straight to the next question of Tsegofatso Mabaso not being selected in the Bafana fold. I'm going to ask you a little bit unfair question, but I will ask it anyway.
Yes.
You said that Hugo Broos continues snapping Tsegofatso Mabasa regardless of a hat-trick that he scores about Nedbank. He also scored a hat-trick when Orlando Pirates were when they beat Marumo Gallants, I believe.
I think it's 8-1 in Baroka in the Nedbank Cup. Yes.
Looking at the current squad, I strongly believe that you want Tsegofatso Mabaso. You strongly believe that Tsegofatso Mabaso should be part of the current Bafana fold. My question to you, amongst the strikers that are in the Bafana fold right now, which one you say should be dropped and be sacrificed over Tsegofatso Mabaso? But I believe we've got Lyle Foster, we've got Percy Tau, we've got Ikram Reyners. Striker, give me number two.
Both ways,
so let's look at Lyle Foster, Ikram Reyners, Percy Tau. You want Tsegofatso Mabaso to be in the Bafana fold. Whom should be dropped amongst these three strikers and why?
Because of the current situation in terms of form, I'll sacrifice Pesitau for me because of his performance is very questionable lately. And the fans are very impatient with him. I looked at the game against Lesotho, they were not happy. At some instances, he gave positions away. He lost the ball easily. Of which, this is not the Pesitau that I saw at Mamelodi Sundowns when they were coached by Pitso Mosimane. He was just firing blanks, exposing opponents. So for me, I'll sacrifice Pesitau. I think if he can just work on his form, hopefully, Tsegofatso Mabaso can creep in, and hopefully he will pitch up and score those, because there are instances where we played crosses inside the box which needs a tall player, and of his caliber is very clinical with his header. So for me, I'll sacrifice Pesitau. If you can go back to the previous AFCON, he didn't do well for me, so his performance was very questionable, and at some point Hugo Broos was pressurized to bench the player. So for me, I'll go for Pesitau.
There you have it, South Africa. You didn't hear it from me, but you heard it from our sports analyst in the form and shape of Modiba Peter. It is simple. A simple instruction to Bafana head coach Hugo Broos. Hugo Broos, drop Pesitau. Bring in Tsegofatso Mabaso. That's what our sports analyst Modiba Peter has to say in as far as the issue or the continuous snapping of the Orlando Pirates left-footed striker in the form and shape of Tsegofatso Mabaso. Still with the Percy Tau thing, he has not been part of a Bafana set up for some time, and in his absence we saw Relebohile Mofokeng wearing jersey number 10. Just fast forward to the Lesotho game, Percy Tau came back. There was that discussion that now Percy Tau is back. What is going to happen with Relebohile Mofokeng and jersey number 10? Will Relebohile Mofokeng hand over the jersey number 10 back to Percy Tau, or will Percy Tau get an alternative jersey number? And we all know that jersey number 10 should definitely be worn by the player who carries the team, the player who can perform miracles, the player who can shoulder the whole team's hopes and take the turn the game upside down in the event things are against the team. The big question is, we saw Percy Tau, he took his jersey number 10. So my question is, do you still believe that Percy Tau still deserves to wear jersey number 10, or it's about time Percy Tau give that jersey number 10 to someone else?
It's a tricky one to answer, but for me, because of current form, I'm looking into current form, and I'm looking into a player of Relebohile Mofokeng. I think South Africa's got a special player there, very talented. Football makes easy. So for me, I think Relebohile Mofokeng deserves jersey, judging from current form. Percy Tau has dropped form, and he hasn't been himself ever since he left Al Ahly. He was honored to invited to come and honor his cap for AFCON last year. Still, I haven't seen the best of Percy Tau that I saw back at Mamelodi Sundowns. So for me, Relebohile Mofokeng should don that jersey currently because of form. Percy Tau must just excuse us a bit, maybe on the bench when this time to introduce him comes by, then we can give him an opportunity to play. But this number 10 deserves to, from a player who's a hard-working player like Relebohile Mofokeng. Look at how he scored the goal, how against Lesotho, how he pitched, although he didn't do well against Benin, of which I'll understand because it's always very difficult to play a team that plays on a low block. So, but he tried his best. But for me, because of local form, and this is a player who was sports personal of the year. So you just won that award from the Gauteng Awards recently. So for me, he deserves that. Just number 10. He's just a special player. Every time I watched him, look at how he exposed Mamelodi Sundowns when Orlando Pirates lost 1-2-1 at FNB against Sundowns. This is a player who's got a praise. Who's a player who keeps rising his head. His head is way up. His lines is always up and say, I'm representing the country. I'm representing my local team, Orlando Pirates. So Relebohile Mofokeng for me deserves just number 10.
Relebohile Mofokeng deserves Bafana a chase number 10. Pesitao Otati Pexit Ekangane. That's not me who said that. Our sports analyst said that in the form and shape of Modiba Abida. Just now, coming to the towards the end of our discussion regarding the Bafana, I think I would like to put you a little bit on the hot seat. Nyana. I just want to compare some Bafana players. And starting with the right back, Khuliso Modau or Nico Mobi, and why?
For me, Khuliso Modau, although I'm just questioning the inclusion of Nico Mobi. Because SuperSport United, for me, they're not doing well. We've got the likes of Riari Frosler, who are doing well at Kaizer Chiefs. Although, Hugo Bruce has got issues with Kaizer Chiefs of saying last season he said the team is not doing well. This time around, under Nasreddin Nabi, yes, they are inconsistent, but you can see some bit of improvement, especially in terms of play. But still, he's not happy. So I don't know which type of thing does he wants to see Kaizer Chiefs display on the field of play. So for me, I'll go for Khuliso Modau.
Relebohile Mofokeng or Oswin Apolis, and why?
A tricky one because of both they're very talented and they can play on the same position on the left wing.
Yes.
So of which when you check, they are capable of taking on players. They're capable of scoring goals. It's a tricky one, but I'll go for Relebohile Mofokeng for now.
Relebohile Mofokeng gets the nod over the Polokwane winger in the form and shape of Oswin Apolis. In the goalkeeping department, in as far as Bafana are concerned, yes, we do have a reliable Ronwen Williams, who also doubles as the Bafana captain. My concern is, should Ronwen Williams get suspended or injured, and we've got a crucial game, we are playing your Ghana or your Nigeria the next morning, do we have a reliable backup for Ronwen Williams in as far as the goalkeeping Bafana goalkeeping department is concerned?
I think we do, but I think that goalkeeper as well needs to improve himself as well, needs to raise his hand way up. Are you taking me back to the game of South Sudan? Remember that game that we won 3-2 away from home, where he was not available, Ronwen Williams? We had to bring in Sipho Chain of Orlando Pirates, of which, yes, in his first game, he conceded 2 goals. But you could see that there's too much potential when you watch the player. So, but there's still some element of improvements that he needs to do. But for now, I think we still do have Sipho Chain and Ricardo Kos. So, but with Ricardo Kos, because of SuperSport haven't been doing well, hopefully maybe he can improve and maybe build confidence towards himself when he returns home at Pretoria, the Lucas Moripe Stadium. He does well, but we do have a backup.
So I strongly believe that Sipho China, should he be called upon, he will definitely fit in those gloves with so much ease in as far as the last line of defense, Bafana's last line of defense is concerned.
I had an argument on social media there where I said we're going to play Lesotho. Then I said, why can't Sipho Chain be in goals? Because Ronwen Williams is coming from a lengthy injury,
yes,
of which I'm not so sure if he's fully fit or recovered well enough to come and play. So, but the majority were saying, no, Ronwen Williams is number 1. So now I realized, no, but majority of matches at Mamelodi Sundowns were played by Jody February as well as Denis Onyango. Why can he be rested for this one? Because I knew that Lesotho will not pose any threat. So I knew that they will definitely approach a game compact and on a low block, and which they did. So, and he wasn't tested in that game. So I thought Sipho Chain deserved to start that match, but it's okay. Yes, we won. We kept a clean sheet. So even the same thing against Benin. Benin did not threaten us. They also displayed Lesotho type behavior as well. Compact on a low block, they couldn't go forward. So for me, I think Sipochen should have been given a chance. But then it's credit once again to Ronwen Williams, because we know he's an AFCON player of the tournament, and he does well as well by keeping clean sheets coming from injury.
A great job indeed by Bafana goalkeeper, also doubles as the captain, that is Ronwen Williams. I did pose a question to our sports analyst that do we have a cover in the goalkeeping department should Ronwen Williams be not available? And Modiba Peter confidently said that Orlando Pirates shortstop in the form and shape of Sipo China will definitely equal to that task. Should he be called upon, he will definitely do that great job in as far as Bafana last line of defense is concerned. Let's hope that Bafana's news in as far as that 3 points is concerned that we got against Lesotho, that 3 points will be safe and sound, which will definitely come hand in as far as the FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifications are concerned. So we will be holding breath. Let's hope Abazalwane somewhere they will also be praying that FIFA does not deduct that 3 points from South Africa, which will definitely make our lives much easier. That come September this year, maybe when we beat Lesotho, we get the 3 points. Maybe by the time we play our second game in September against Nigeria, we would have already qualified, and then we will not have any be under any pressure, and that will definitely make Nigeria's life very, very difficult and get them to be very, very frustrated, which the South Africans, I know they will definitely love to see that.
They were so overconfident saying that they're going to thrash Zimbabwe and Nigerians. And guess what? Zimbabwe shocked them by scoring a late equalizer. That's where their chances of saying we'll catch up with South Africa are dented, which means that they won that game. They would have been on 9 points, but it wasn't to be. Hard luck to them, but yeah, we've got an appointment come September, and we're going to thrash them.
Hard luck to Nigeria. I believe people on social media, they went on and said Nigerians, they were busy concentrating on South Africa's yellow cards. They forgot to prepare for their Zimbabwe game.
Kamabilia to Knowledge Musona, who are doing well currently. I think with that massive experience they got in the Betway Premiership, they went on to put it in their national team. It was a good fight back by Zimbabwe, judging from how I saw they late equal on the 90th minute. So I think that broke their hearts, it broke Nigeria's hearts, that how did we allow the Zimbabweans to equalize so late?
Job well done indeed to our neighbors in Zimbabwe. Oh, you did very well. As South Africans, as Bafana fans, we definitely salute you as Zimbabwe. The Warriors of Zimbabwe, they did a great job holding Nigeria to that 1-all draw, the last minute equalizer. The pain went straight to Lagos, to the whole Nigerian side. Job well done as Zimbabwe. You are our neighbors after all. So, your win, your success, it is South Africa's success. We are together in this. So no wonder Lesotho did not put that complaint within 24 hours.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, we are the neighbors after all. So Lesotho, Zimbabwe, we are watching you, and we see you, and we appreciate the neighboring that you are doing to South Africa. On our way to the next year's World Cup, we will mention you as we sing the national anthem, go America, wherever, or Mexico, or Canada, since the next year's World Cup will be hosted by those 3 countries. We definitely, as Bafana fans, South African fans, we definitely appreciate and acknowledge the job well done by Zimbabwe and the Kwena tsa Lesotho.
So true. And Ghana also comes to mind, but although I looked into all those groups, I can't see Ghana, which means maybe they didn't qualify. So, but we also had this issue with them and Nigeria currently. So, and there's still that grudge thing. Whenever they lose their matches at Ghana, South Africans will be saying, "Hey, balayagile."
Ghana, Nigeria, if you are looking for sympathy from South Africa, forget, you're not gonna get any. All you will get is we'll see you as the laughing stock. Halala South Africa, halala Bafana Bafana. Oh yes, a very good morning and a warm welcome to you wherever you are within the South African borders and beyond. We've got you covered. Don't you worry about a thing. All you have to do is sit back, relax, and allow us to entertain you. We are tuning in to Sports Geek with Sibonile Ngcobo here on Nirvana World FM. Your beat, your music, and we come to you live from our Lenesia studios in the south of Johannesburg. Ekoli, Gauteng, Maboneng, Ngwanaka. Thank you very much to my colleague. That is a DJ Powen who brought you 10 Kids. That was between 10 and 11 o'clock. Catch him again next week is Saturday, same time, same place here on Nirvana World FM. That's between 10 and 11 o'clock as it brings you 10 Kids, mixing it up for you the way you like it. You and I, we are together from now 11 o'clock until 1 p.m. as we bring you Sports Geek with Sibonile Ngcobo. As always, I'm not flying solo. I do have my co-pilot in the form and shape of Modiba Apita. Modiba, good morning and an official warm welcome.
Let me greet you and also Powen behind the scenes as well as our viewers out there. So yeah, it's a lovely Saturday. As you know, we're busy unpacking and there's still plenty of action that is taking place this wonderful Saturday. There's cricket, that's rugby, and Sibonile will also allude everything, unpack everything as the show goes. So, but sit down, relax. We are all having enough options on what to watch, but we'll come and dissect everything during the progression of the show. So yeah, this is Sports Geek. Once again, stay tuned.
Oh, stay tuned indeed, because at the summit we'll definitely look at what's happening in as far as the Indian Premier League. Oh boy, is it back or is it back with a bang?
With a bang, with a bang. It's happening, really, really.
Oh yes, T20 cricket. If you haven't spoken at Indian Premier League, you haven't said a word. So if you are a fan of T20 cricket, definitely, your all eyes right now are out in India as the IPL is back with a bang. It got underway this week. We've got all the results for you, so as the fixtures going forward. So surely we don't want to miss what's happening in as far as IPL is going out in India. I saw there was a nice game even last night. But Modiba Peter will bring all that for us and tell us what's happening in as far as Indian Premier League is concerned. We'll also look at rugby, Vodacom Limited Rugby Championship. Yes, things are taking shape in as far as the knockout stages are concerned. I believe our home side, Stormers, they were in action last night against, I believe it was Ulster, but the things did not go well for our South African side. But we'll dissect all that and more under the rugby segment. Football, oh yes, club of football is definitely back this weekend following last weekend's international break. So we'll be talking most of club football in as far as football is concerned globally. Tennis, things are happening out in Miami, and the veteran Novak Djokovic is setting the waves yet again. Motorsport, yes, it is back with a bang. So just stay tuned. We've got all that for you. We've got you covered. So all you have to do is sit back, relax, and allow us to entertain you. What a best way. There's no better way to kickstart the show with none other than the IPL song. I believe, let's try and see if I believe CSK, Chennai Super Kings, they do have the song. So I thought it is fitting. To introduce the Indian Premier League with one of the franchises that is participating in as far as the Indian Premier League is concerned. Here's the song from one of the franchise team, that is the Chennai Super Kings. Talking of Chennai Super Kings, do you still remember the Indian legend who was also the captain and the wicket keeper, MS Dhoni, Mahendra Singh Dhoni? He turns up for the Chennai Super Kings, and I believe they were in action last night. Here's the song by the Chennai Super Kings.
Chennai Super Kings, we are back after 2 years and we are here to win. We are the kings, Chennai Super Kings. We are back after 2 years and we are here to win. Follow the yellow army, Captain MS Dhoni, Surajena and Baji, they all belong to we. So we take on KKR, take on Double R, RCB and Double D, they all know who we are. We are the kings, Chennai Super Kings. We are back after 2 years and we are here to win. the only team to beat everybody. Shane Watson, Faf du Plessis. Look at the innings, what they play for we. So, we are the kings, Chennai Super Kings. We are back after 2 years and we are here to win. We are the kings, Chennai Super Kings. We are back after 2 years and we are here to win. What's up, photo? Super Kings. CSK, let me hear you. CSK. CSK. Everybody say CSK. Big Mumbai, Evangeli, B-Top-D, Orange Army, British Center and the Punjabi. No other teams can come close to we. So, we are the kings, Chennai Super Kings. We are back after 2 years and we are here to win. We are the kings, Chennai Super Kings. We are back after 2 years and we are here to win. CSK, West Sapporo, the #1 IPL team in the world.
We are Chennai Super Kings. We are the kings. Follow the Yellow Army. Oh, yes. That's how that song went. And they went on and mentioned their captain in the former chief of the legendary MS Dhoni, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Oh, what a darling of the Indian fans MS Dhoni was in his heydays when he was still attending for the Blue Army, for his national team. That is the Indian side. That's how we did the introduction of the Indian Premier League 2020. 5 season. It is back with a bang, and there's no better person to tell us what's happening in as far as Indian Premier League is concerned, none other than my co-pilot Modiwa Peter.
Very true. And this is the 18th edition. So we can just break it down to the viewers out there. So the 18th edition of this particular IPL, Indian Premier League, where Kolkata Knight Riders, as you know, they've just won it last season, defeating Sunrisers Hyderabad. This time around, they get to come and open and defend their title. But then they didn't start well properly. When I checked midweek, last week when it started there, so they played against the likes of Royal Challengers Bengaluru. And guess what? On the day, they posted 174 for 8, the very same Kolkata Knight Riders after 20 overs, and the Royal Challengers Bengaluru posted 177 for 3 after 16.2 overs. You can see that already they've won the match without completing the number of overs, of which it gives them that upper hand on say will win this match by 7 wickets. So it's well done to them. So they really, the Kolkata Knight Riders are starting to feel the panic by panicking while they have to defend their title there. The second match we saw Sunrisers Hyderabad, the runners-up of last season as well, in the final against Rajasthan Royals, and they call them the RR there, where the Sunrisers Hyderabad posted 286 for 6 after 20 overs, and then the Rajasthan Royals, they posted 246, I should say, for 2 for 6 after 20 overs. And the Sunrisers Hyderabad, the last week, the former runners-up, they managed to win that particular game by 44 runs. They were rampant on the day. So the other match that took place, as Sponeless just told you now, is Chennai Super Kings up against the Royal Challengers Bengaluru, where Chennai Super Kings posted 146 for 8 after 20 overs, and then the Royal Challengers Bengaluru managed 196 for 7 after 20 overs. You can see that the Royal Challengers Bengaluru on the day, they were on form, they played so well, they won by 50 runs, so it was just a good win for them. So in terms of the standings, because some of the teams have played 2 matches, some are still going to play this coming weekend.
Yes,
we've got
still early days.
Still early days, you see, because there's still plenty of matches to play. 74 matches in total for the entire season. 2 months that will be taking place because of it will end on the 25th of May. So Royal Challengers Bengaluru are topping up the table with 2 matches played and 2 wins, which makes it 4 points. And then followed by Lucknow Super Giants with 2 points. The majority of teams here, they've got 2 points. Just like the number 3, the Punjab Kings, Delhi Capitals, as well as Sunrisers Hyderabad, not forgetting the defending champions, Kolkata Knight Riders. At least they managed to bounce back after losing their first match there. So let's see where it will take them going forward. So it was very interesting. And then the likes of Mumbai Indians at number 8, Gujarat Titans at number 9, They are yet to collect a point. They own 0 points. And lastly, Rajasthan Royals at number 10. So, and I'm looking at the teams with the most number of titles since 2008.
Okay.
I come across Mumbai Indians with 5 titles, followed by Chennai Super Kings with 4 titles. Kolkata Knight Riders, last season's winners, they with 3 titles, and then Rajasthan Royals, Sunrisers Hyderabad, as well as Gujarat Royals, the Titans, I should say, they're all on 1 title. So there's still enough going forward. We'll have to wait and see if they'll try to cover this record set up by Mumbai Indians, who has the most number of titles. So in terms of the fixtures that are taking place this weekend, Gujarat Titans will host Mumbai Indians at Narendra Stadium here. And then tomorrow there's Delhi Capitals up against Sunrisers Hyderabad. And then also Rajasthan Royals against Chennai Super Kings. Then on Monday we've got the Mumbai Indians up against Kolkata Knight Riders. Those are the defending champions. So let's see if they'll try to collect as many points as possible. Even when we come back, we'll bring the results and see how it'll take us, because it's a very interesting tournament, league tournament. Whenever we watch this particular franchise league title, so I can't wait. I just want to see if Kolkata Knight Riders will be able to defend their title, and then also Sunrisers Hyderabad will be able to do well as they were runners up last season.
I must say that I'm very impressed with the stats that you've just shared, that Mumbai Indians, they're currently topping the rankings as far as the number of championship is concerned, as far as the IPL is concerned. I believe you said the second one? 5.
Yes.
Followed by Chennai Super Kings at number 4 with 4
titles.
Four titles. Oh yes, who can forget? I can tell you that one of the contributing factors for Mumbai Indians to be sitting at 5 wins, surely it is simply because the legend, the Indian legend, Sachin Tendulkar, was playing for Mumbai Indians. So if you talk Indian cricket, if you talk IPL, you have to talk about Sachin Tendulkar, and Sachin Tendulkar is from Mumbai. So he was turning up for the Mumbai Indians. So that was his influence. Hence, we see Mumbai Indians sitting with the most number of championship. So now with Sachin Tendulkar now having retired, like I did mention at the beginning of this cricket segment, that MS Dhoni, the Indian legend, wicket keeper and captain, he turns up for Chennai Super Kings. He also is also very influential in that team. So it is no surprise that the Chennai Super Kings are sitting at number 2. And then we'll be watching how is King Kohli. How does King Kohli influence his side? And as far as the Indian Premier League is concerned, about Faf du Plessis, that combination of Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis is doing pretty well in as far as Indian Premier League. And as far as the T20 tournament is concerned, we'll be watching that as well and see how much of the influence King Kohli does have in as far as IPL is concerned.
Very true. And I also see Lunginkiti has joined the group, Virat Kohli, and also if you just mentioned Faf du Plessis there at Royal Challengers Bengaluru, so which makes it interesting because of they're yet to win this particular tournament. So hopefully their experience will help the team to go further. So let's wait and see as the tournament progresses.
Let's wait and see as the tournament progresses. Yes, it is still early days, but we always say, they always say, it is not how you start, it is how you finish. So we'll be watching the space. Yes, you did mention that the defending champions, they lost their opening a game, and then I believe yesterday they got back to winning ways. Yeah. So we will be watching the space. Will the Kolkata Knight Riders successfully defend their trophy, or will the Mumbai Indians stretch their number of wins? Chennai Super Kings will be watching all of that. Gujarat Titans, who are sitting up at the bottom currently, will they get back to winning ways and shape things up? I saw the likes of the South African Quinton de Kock. He also did doing pretty well. By the look of things, it looks like he's having a great tournament. That's Quinton de Kock, after all. He's always having great tournaments in as far as T20 cricket is concerned. Let's quick go for a breather. When we return, we'll be talking rugby, Ebola, Lomboko. We'll be talking Vodacom United Rugby Championship.
Getting your business seen online can be tricky and confusing. At Silly Moose Designs, we offer a comprehensive list of services that can be personalized according to your budget and your marketing goals. From hosting to ranking on search engines, we've got you covered. Visit sillymoosedesigns.co.za to get started. We'll approach your website with passion, purpose, and power. Silly Moose Designs is a proud partner of Nirvana World FM.
Ever heard a baby bellow at the top of its lungs in a public place, far from your best music track, right? For a more beautiful note, contact Nirvana Sounds for your studio and live recordings. We engineer sound to perfection according to your specifications. We ensure crisp and clear audio-video conversions and delight your function with sound, stage, and lights for hire. Our quotes are immeasurable to the ear. Contact us now on 03 945 7664. Nirvana Sounds, powered by Gospel World FM.
In a world where compassion is needed, Ashraful Aid lent a hand to the Palestinian refugees. A source of warmth in the chill of winter, we supported children and families in Jordan. An indication to humanity's resilience and the power of unity. Embrace the spirit of giving because every bit counts. Together we can make a difference. Donate today.
Time now it is 12 minutes after 12 o'clock. Oh yes, it double. If you are considering to play Lotto Powerball, my advice to you, go and play U12 Lapa because it looks like it is the number of at the moment. It is Saturday after all. I believe Powerball is on this evening. So 12 to 12, that's the number to bet come in as far as Powerball or Lotto is concerned. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to the second and the final hour of the show. You are tuning in to Sports Geek with Spanalong over here on Nirvana World FM. Your beat, your music. Now, without any further ado, let's dive straight to rugby. Alompo Vodacom United Rugby Championship. Yes, things are shaping up in as far as top 8 bracket is concerned. In as far as knockout slots are concerned, I believe we've got just 5 games left till we get to the knockout stages. But before we get to that, Motiba, talk to us what went down in the first game in as far as IPF Vodacom United Rugby Championship is a concern.
Hey, it's very happening, Sponel. I remember Leinster were praising them, saying they're unbeaten. Finally, they tested their first victory. I should say defeat.
Yes.
Defeat of the season last weekend. So against, I think I remember very well, it's Vodacom Bulls, Jack White doing the surprises there against Lee Quillen. So I think things did not go according to plan for them. Imagine they were beaten. It reminded me of the game that we went to watch at Ellis Park Stadium where the long penalty was scored. So it's almost the same case with the Vodacom Bulls. It's well done.
Right at the death.
That's where I was thinking, the very same Leinster will win by 1 point, but it wasn't the case. This time around, they came to the party. David Krill, you see, Vodacom Bulls, the David Krill player there, scored the penalty because there was some bit of additional time there where 5 minutes were added. Then in that right at the death, that's where he snatched the 4 points, I should say, for the Vodacom Bulls. So with other the results there, so Cardiff Rugby they won 2017 against the Lions. The Lions are also not doing well, so I don't know what's going on there. The Glasgow Warriors, the defending champions, by the way, they collected a victory. They capitalized on the Leinster loss, just to say we're going to come closer and close that gap deficit that has been stressed by the same Leinster. As this time they're trailing by 9 points. I'll come to the league shortly, and the Sharks there winning by 35-24. So I should say 34, marginal 1 point as well against the Zebri. So it's really happening in the URC there. The Benetton winning 21-18 against Edinburgh. And then the Vodacom Bulls, as I rightfully stated, 21-20 against the Leinster. I think Leinster, maybe they were overconfident of the fact that we are unbeaten. Vodacom Bulls are blowing hot and cold. We'll surprise them. But then on the day, as you know, a game of sport doesn't have that for, and it can be cruel, possibly. So Scarlets as well, they lost 17-29 against Thomas. You see, Thomas continue winning, but at the same time they lost, as you rightfully said before the break, that they're very inconsistent when one is watching the Dragons lost 30-34 against Ulster, and then Ospreys winning 43-40 against the Connacht. So in terms of the fixtures, should I say yesterday the results, as we spoke about Thomas, they lost 38-34
at home. Mention that at home they lost at home against Ulster, and then the Edinburgh they're winning 38-5. They were just on song on the evening against the Dragons.
Dragons. The Dragons, we know there's such a placement of the lock. So things haven't been going well, which means there's an automatic relegation when one is switching, looking at that. So the fixtures are as follows today. The Vodacom Bulls will host the Zebri. Let's see if they'll continue, as they call them, the upsetters against the Leinster. So they'll be looking to collect more points. The Connacht up against the Munster. The Vodacom Bulls up against the Zebri match will kickstart at 3:15. And then later on at 4:30, it's Connacht up against Munster. Then the Scarlets up against the Ospreys at 5 o'clock. The Sharks up against the Leinster. I think Leinster will be saying, let's get back to winning ways. We want to redeem ourselves. But you are playing against the unimproved, resurgent Sharks. Let's see if points will be able to be collected there with the Siya Kolisi team there. So the Benetton up against the Cardiff Crappie later at 25-10. And Glasgow Warriors up against the Lions. So it's all happening. And let's see, because of after these matches, the focus will be shifted on Investor Cup. I think we'll talk more about it next weekend when we meet with the viewers. So this particular URC will return back on the 18th of April. So Leinster, they're still top of the log with 58 points, followed by Glasgow Warriors with 49 points, 9 points gap there. Vodacom Bulls with 45 points at number 3. The Sharks with 44 points at number 4. The Cardiff Rugby there with 35 points at number 5. The Munster with 34 points at number 6. And then the Ospreys there with 33 points at number 7. And also the Stormers at number 8. They complete the top 8, so which is good for South African teams. Remember, we also had the topic before that South African teams haven't been doing well, and it will be lovely to see them in the knockout stages. Your Lions, your Sharks, as well as the Vodacom Bulls, not forgetting the Stormers. But so far, we've got the Vodacom Bulls, the Sharks, and the Stormers. So I still want the Lions to carry on, but currently they're 13th on the log, which doesn't look good here because of they keep losing matches. So I wish they can just push with the 4 to 5 matches that are left, because all the teams are supposed to play 18 matches for them to cement a top 8 knockout qualification. But it's going to be interesting. We'll also alert the listeners when we come back with the results and look ahead to the Investor Cup.
Oh yes, it is interesting indeed. It is shaping up indeed as far as knockout stages are concerned. The top 8 brackets. So you did mention that Stormers are rooted at number 8.
True, yes, they are currently at number 8.
They're treading on thin ice in as far as qualifications are concerned. And I must mention that since the inception of Vodacom United Rugby Championship, this season should it will be the first time that we do not have a South African team in the finals. Should that happen, hope I'm not the prophet of doom. We remember that in the first 2 versions we had Stormers in the finals, and then on the 3rd version, Vodacom Blue Bulls, the way there. Let's hope come end of this season in the finals we'll also have another South African team in as far as the Vodacom United Rugby Championship. So Stormers, they had been doing very well in as far as Vodacom United Rugby Championship. Bulls, yes, they've also been doing pretty well. So don't be surprised that come end of the season, maybe this season it is the chance for the Durban side, Sharks, to represent South Africa in the finals, because it looks like Lions, they might not make it even in the top 8 bracket. But it's not over till the third lady sings. We've still got around about 4 or 5 rounds to go before we conclude the pool stages and secure those top 8 bracket. And then you also mentioned the Sharks, that they're hosting Leinster, who lost to Vodacom Blue Bulls last weekend. I can tell you now that it is official that the tickets for the Sharks Leinster game are sold out.
I'm not surprised.
They sold out yesterday.
I'm not surprised, because they're doing well at the Sharks. So they also want to fancy, let's cause another upset. The Leinster will be saying, we want to get back to winning ways. So as we rightfully said before, they've got the cream of players who are playing in the Springboks. So that's the interesting fixture. And I was at York Sinche, Trevor Nyakani. So it's very, very interesting when I watch this particular fixture. So it's a humdinger of one. So back to the Lions again. I'm disappointed because it looks like it's a deja vu once again. Remember what transpired last season when they almost basement of the log and they almost faced relegation. And at some point we stated that why can't they get rid of the coach, which they couldn't do it.
Oh yes, it is interesting indeed. Let's hope that the Sharks, they'll definitely bring their A game and rub salt on the Leinster's wound come this afternoon and beat Leinster once again and follow suit what Vodacom Blue Bulls did last weekend. So we'll be watching that game with a keen interest. Like I said, it is a sold out affair. Let's hope that the likes of your Osiam Tanda Kolisi, Magazole Mampimpe, Trevor Anyakanye, oh Lapana Bongi Mbonambi. Oh, Grant Williams. Oh, boy.
Solid player, Grant Williams.
The Hendricks brothers, Jaden and Jordan Hendricks. Let's hope they will bring their A game.
Convert those penalties and
convert those penalties and assist the Sharks to beat the Irish outfit in the form and shape of Leinster. That game is going to be a cracker of the game. I don't have to say that for the tickets to be a sold-out affair. That says it all. It's going to be a stampede in the Shark tank down in Durban. KwaZulu-Natal, Kakasene, Kwelga, Banana, the Banana City. Now we're changing gears from rugby to tennis. I believe Miami Open, the curtain is about to come down this weekend.
Definitely. So before I get to the final fixtures there, so as the semi-finals played, so I'll start with the results there, where Arina Sabalenka managed to surprise Jasmine Paulini. So it took me back to the conversations that we once had with Rendani Mator, that there's too much drama as far as the women's tennis side is concerned. So this time around, I think Arina Sabalenka, she's trying to convince herself that I lost previously in the Australian Open, so I don't want history to repeat itself. This time around, I'll be in the final, and definitely she is in the final. Let's see how she'll pen up against Jessica Pegula. This is another cream of women there who also done well in the Australian Open. So both of them, I think they will also want to beat to boost their rankings as well as far as positions is concerned. But you look at both sides, they've met 8 times. Sabalenka has won 2 times and Pegula has only won twice. So it shows that Arina Sabalenka does have an upper hand going into this final. To those who are tennis fans out there, the match will kickstart at 7 o'clock. So let's see if Arina Sabalenka will continue doing well, because I realized that the likes of Iga Swiatek were top of the rankings before, because currently Arina Sabalenka tops those rankings, are not doing well. So it's going to be an interesting final. So from the men's side, I'm looking at Novak Djokovic. He played against Grigor Dimitrov there, so where he won the 2 sets, Novak Djokovic, by 6-2, 6-3. So you come up, there's a player called Jakub Mensik from Czech Republic up against Taylor Fritz. So it was a tight game where there were too many ties there in that game, where Mensik won by 7-6 after a tie of 7-4-4, and then 4-6 he lost the second set, and then managed to bounce back in the third set after a tie as well of 7-4, so but winning that one by 7-6. So this time around, Jakub Mensik will play Novak Djokovic. So it is as I stated off air, I was having a chat with you off air, stating that Jannik Sinner won't be able to take part in this particular because of that substance abuse. Hopefully the outcome will come and say, we are punishing you, we are banning you. We still are waiting for that, but this is an opportunity for the likes of Novak Djokovic to try and climb those rankings, because he hasn't been doing well. 5th on the rankings, it's not looking good. And I checked the gap, 11,000 against 3,000 of Novak Djokovic, of which Jannik Sinner has opened a huge gap for Novak Djokovic to catch up. It's not looking good, but this is an opportunity for him to redeem himself. But you'll never know. A game of sport is very cruel. Yes. Jakub Mensik can also string a surprise by the looks of things. So this is a player, when I tried to profile Novak Djokovic, remember he retired in the semi-finals of the Australian Open, and I was like, you're almost there. So you can meet the likes of Jannik Sinner, you can meet the likes of your Carlos Alcaraz, of which whom he was prematurely knocked out of this particular Miami Open, which is not looking good. But this is an opportunity for Novak Djokovic, and I still think in the next 2 months he will be celebrating his birthday. I think he'll want to celebrate it in style, having won this 100th final, 100th title, because of his been participating in this Miami Open since 2019. This is his 7th season, so, and he's won it all. So he will be looking for his 7th title. Very interesting stats there when I watched Novak Djokovic.
Oh, very interesting stats indeed. We'll be watching that space with a keen interest. That will Novak Djokovic go on and add the 2025 championship and then set that stretch, that record. Come tomorrow night, Novak Djokovic will get things underway. I believe that match gets underway here, 9 p.m. South African time.
Let's hope Lionel Messi will come again, because he managed to honor the fixture of Novak Djokovic to come and watch Novak Djokovic. Hopefully his presence can pay that see Messi magic, and he comes and grab his 100th title as a player. Novak Djokovic is good luck to him. Let's wait and see. When we come back, definitely we'll bring the results and look ahead to some of the tournaments that are still coming.
So Lionel Messi was in attendance in Novak Djokovic's semi-final match.
Very true, yes.
Oh yes, you must know that you are a legend. If I mean an iconic player in the stage of Lionel Messi,
yes,
attends your matches. Well done to Novak Djokovic. So let's see how does he pan out come tomorrow night, 9 p.m. South African time in that Miami Open.
Abakwenya bantu hayya maniba hayya wavuga maniba hayya lela maniba asila maniba athandindaba maniba ayaloya maniba ayikodwa mnandi maniba amnandi maniba ayikodwa mnandi maniba amnandi maniba engithi hayya maniba hayya wavuga maniba ayadela maniba asila maniba athandindaba maniba ayaloya maniba awukodwa mnandi maniba amnandi maniba ayikodwa mnandi maniba amnandi maniba Sengishisiso somuhamba singakanani singangenso yenyoni hayi singangenso yenyoni hayibo singangenso yenyoni sengishisiso somuhamba singakanani singangenso yenyoni hayi singangenso yenyoni hayibo singangenso yenyoni sengishisiso somuhamba singakanani singangenso yenyoni hayi singangenso yenyoni hayibo singangenso yenyoni sengishisiso somuhamba singakanani singangenso yenyoni hayi singangenso yenyoni hayibo singangenso yenyoni celi papa ngizosheba ngepiano maceli papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa ngizosheba ngepiano maceli papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa ngizosheba ngepiano maceli papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa ngizosheba ngepiano maceli papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni hayibo celi papa emadeni akila kawubenza uyababona lamashangaletha asho akila kawubenza uyababona abathathu utshwala lethu asho akila kawubenza uyababona lamashangaletha asho akila kawubenza uyababona abathathu utshwala lethu hayya maniba ayadela maniba athandindaba maniba ayaloya maniba ayikodwa mnandi maniba ayikodwa mnandi maniba amnandi maniba engithi hayya maniba
ayahlupha maneighbor haya maneighbor Athandindaba, my neighbor. Oh yes, we all have those Karens, those neighbors who are very that knows Karens. Okay, just cannot keep their noses out of their neighbors' business. There is a killer cow featuring the likes of Riz Madlisa, Lapana Ensizwa, DJ Zuma, Mr. Jaziki. They gave us the song titled Amani Bayahlu Pamaneiba. Asila my neighbor.
I know you're my neighbor.
Ayahlupha my neighbor. Oh, God, Domnanda, my neighbor. Oh, let's leave the neighbors alone. Time is definitely not on our side. Let's dive straight to football. Following last weekend's international break, last night, a club of football got underway, and South Africa was also not going to be outdone. I believe we kickstarted a club of football last night with the Nedbank Cup. Talk to us. What went down last night out in Pretoria, Lucas Moripe Stadium?
Like we spoke during our conversation with Bafana Bafana that the very same admin field, Mamelodi Sundowns, there when they had these double bookings, so
Yes.
which they forced the game to be postponed to another case, and it was yesterday on Friday where Mamelodi Sundowns in the last match they lost 2-1 against Orlando Pirates, and Sogo United also lost 2-1 against Stellenbosch. So they were both coming from this match on the back of defeats, of which it was Eric Tindler's first match in charge, and he couldn't do well. In fact, second match, because the other match
Yes.
he won by 2-0. So this time around he managed to face the very same Mamelodi Sundowns, and
What a tough assignment.
what a tough assignment, because you are playing away from home. As you know, statistically, School United has never beaten Mamelodi Sundowns in the league. They only had one throw, 1-1, where I remember Linda Mtambo scored in that game at Peter Mokaba. So you are traveling to Lucas Moripe Stadium, where you visited Mamelodi Sundowns recently at Loftus Stadium and lost for 3-0, and then you went on to play at Old Peter Mokaba. Sundowns thrashed you 4-2. So I think also another blunder will be, why did you fire Lehlonolo Sema? Because of he has just improved,
Yes.
of which we are criticizing about this chopping and changing unnecessary. But this time around, he took the team to the quarterfinals. This time around, the team is amongst the top 5 in the league. But you get rid of the coach. So in that game, Mamelodi Sundowns completely dominated that match. Look at how they created those chances. You are Martius Esquivel, Putasha Lulile, when he came in as a sub, Ikhram Reinas, Neo Mayema, Gran Kekana, and Lucas Ribeiro Costa as he came in as well. I think the goalkeeper Ronaldo Lina, the School United goalkeeper.
What a performance.
What a performance. The former
What a
Maritzburg United made brilliant saves in that game to push the game to extra time. But the only thing that I didn't like about him is that he was chowing time, wasting time, faking injuries. That was his downfall. As a goalkeeper.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only part I didn't like about him yesterday. But he had a brilliant game. So I think if you can work on that, you can't chip Azeza against a team of Mamelodi Sundowns caliber, of which they will punish you. So they were on their side. They had a player called Treza Chiboapa who had a goal disallowed, of which when you check the Stomo, a definite offside. On the other side of Mamelodi Sundowns, Peter Shalulile in the reverse optional time had scored a goal, of which is very questionable because of when before the ball was played, the cutback was played in, it was marginal offside. When the ball played in, he looked onside. So I think it will need some spot on the likes of Victor Klungwane and Ace Ngobo to dissect on that incident. So because some are saying it's an offside and some are saying it's a goal.
But I can tell from what I saw, like you rightfully mentioned, that before the cross was delivered, yes, Shalule was on the offside.
Yes.
But at the time of delivering that cross,
He was onside.
he was onside. That was my observation. So I personally feel that goal should have stood.
Yeah, even the is it William Shongwe? Alluded the same fact. Said this was supposed to be a goal. You don't judge the player, penalize the player based on the previous offside.
Yes.
But when a cutback has been played in,
At
and it was
that
a fantastic cutback there. Mamelodi Sundowns played, for me, they played absolutely well. So I couldn't understand Eric Tindler because of he was seated back, low block. Why low block?
Low block the whole game.
The whole game.
And
so you want to play on transition. You can't do that against a team of Mamelodi Sundowns. Whereas you don't utilize your transition perfectly. So that's why I question Eric Tindler. I'm like saying this one won't last. Also Kloshwalo. Because of his history background. He's always fired everywhere. And School United, they've signed quality of players. So I'm still surprised why players like Linda Mtambo, Gatlaho Otladisa were not part of that particular team. I think he's got the answers, Eric Tindler, of which I think the pressure will be you must now compete for the second spot because of Mamelodi Sundowns have run away with the league title for me, judging from how Orlando Pirates are being inconsistent. So 15 points, it still have to catch up our Pirates, and you get them more than that. So very, very interesting for me. So, but Eric Tintler, you must go back to the drawing board and fix that team, because of I couldn't understand when the team was seated back. A strong team like Sekhukhune United, where when they lost 4-2 against the facing Mamelodi Sundowns, they really played absolutely well. It's just that on the day they were let down by conceding those goals. That's why at some point they even changed the goals first choice goalkeeper Ali Sangare and brought in Ronaldo Lina, who did well, the former Maritzburg United goalkeeper. So I was not impressed with how he set back and forced the game to go to penalties, of which it wasn't possible. Jaden Adams came in, individual brilliancy, and he lost the ball past the goalkeeper there with just 2 minutes left for referee to blow the final whistle for extra time. So it was a well-deserved victory, and this time it's official. Mamelodi Sundowns will meet Kaizer Chiefs in the semi-final. Orlando Pirates will host Marumo Gallants in the semi-final. So who will you see another deja vu? There's the same back-to-back finals. We'll have to wait and see. I think April the 11th and the 12th has this answer for us for that.
So needless to say, it is obvious that in last night's game, Kaizer Chiefs faithfuls, surely they were the friends of Sekhukhune United for last night.
Definitely they were. So, but while I was watching the game, I had so many arguments with the Pirates fans and the other Kaizer Chiefs fans. I was saying to them, Mamelodi Sundowns will win. I said it 2 weeks before, and I knew the first part is that I knew, because I remember we doing fan base, and then they said, "Who are you?" Because of the league stake, the fixture says Mamelodi Sundowns / Sekhukhune United versus Kaizer Chiefs. I'm like, no, we're going to play Sundowns. Then some of the Kaizer Chiefs fans will say, no, it's Sekhukhune will beat Sundowns. I'm like, how? Because they've never beaten Sundowns. The stats are there to prove. So you don't have to argue much. Don't support football by heart. Watch Sekhukhune United, watch Mamelodi Sundowns, and then
they were just being positive, dreaming positively, hoping for the best.
The team of which, if you can check Sponelo, they've been given the mandate. The owner, Fleming Beck, the sporting director, had given Michael Cardoso a mandate. You must win the Nedbank Cup. You must win the Betway Premiership. You must also win the CAF Champions League. You see, it's a huge pressure for me, for the coach. And yesterday they really missed plenty of chances, of which if they were playing against any team that plays out, that comes out and play, they were going to struggle as Sundowns. And this is the same syndrome I've seen them doing against Orlando Pirates, where they lost 2-1. They missed plenty of chances in that game. So Kaizer Chiefs must just make sure that they don't allow them they don't concede, and make sure that when they get chances to convert them.
Tough ask.
But it's a tough ask, because of you have never beaten Sundowns in a very long time, of which Mamelodi Sundowns also still have an upper hand. But Kaizer Chiefs must make a plan. 11 years or 10 years without a trophy is just too much.
We'll be watching the space with a keen interest. So Kaizer Chiefs are faithfuls. It is now official that come the semi-finals, Nedbank Cup 2025 semi-finals, you will definitely interlock horns with none other than Bafana Bastille, Mamelodi Sundowns, Kabuyelo Masandawana. So you can be rest assured that that dream final is definitely on the cards. Like Motiba did mention, that there is a possibility of the repeat of last season's final on the Pirates looking horns with Mamelodi Sundowns. Who can forget that last minute goal by Relebohile Mofokeng, where I believe he ended Ben 10's career, that is Bongani Zungu's career, with that Shibo Blaz goal. And surely that was the last time we saw Bongani Zungu turning up for Mamelodi Sundowns. So we'll be watching that space with a keen interest at how do those semi-finals turn up. So it's Orlando Pirates. It's now official. Orlando Pirates versus Marumo Gallants. Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, last year's runners up. Now changing gears from Nedbank Cup to Betway Premiership. I believe it gets underway this afternoon.
Definitely. Although I'll just give quickly the effective Champions League fixtures, because some of them they won't participate. Orlando Pirates will play on Tuesday against MC Alger 9 o'clock in the evening. Mamelodi Sundowns away from home. That's the first leg, by the way. Thanks for reminding me that. That's away from home, first leg of the CAF Champions League quarterfinals. And then Mamelodi Sundowns will host Esperance, Michael Cardoso's former team. So at 3 o'clock, you see, it's going to be a personal one, because of Esperance were the ones who knocked out Mamelodi Sundowns by 1-0, 1-0, 2-0 aggregate last season. So they will be looking for revenge, and they've just stated that the entrance is mahala. So if you are around Pretoria, you must just make sure that you enter Loftus Stadium for free there. So on Wednesday 3 o'clock, Stellenbosch will play away to Zamalek. Zamalek, as I've spoke of, that they're third on the log, so they're doing well. It's
They're
a
a
very
tough
strong
side.
team. So Stellenbosch must make sure that they don't make those errors. So we don't want a situation where they are beaten 5-0 once again. Remember, they lost to RS Berkane, who are top of the log that side.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. But getting back to Betway Premiership fixtures that are taking place tomorrow, I should say today in this afternoon, 3:30. And if I can just give them the message again that as from next weekend or as from the 1st of April, the league matches will kickstart at 3 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. So the 3:30.
No more 3:30.
It's been paused aside because of winter is just around the corner. So yes, and Chippa United will host Amazulu. So I think they'll be looking for revenge at Buffalo City Stadium, where Amazulu beat them 2-0 in the first round. Athazwane just lost 2 matches, and then he's going to play Chippa United. Will he suffer his third loss? We'll have to wait and see. Chippa United will be saying, we've just won recently against Polokwane City 2-0. So where the goalkeeper, James Okoth, made a blunder, leading on to the second goal, which resulted in an own goal for Chippa United for them to take the lead 2-0. So they will be playing at home, Thabo September there, to do well, because it's also both coaches are also inconsistent. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game ends in a draw, but we'll have to wait and see, because Chippa United do have an upper hand of playing at home. Golden Arrows will host Kaizer Chiefs. I said it on fan base that they must just change that venue, Mpumalanga Stadium. It looks like maybe they watched the show because they've shifted that venue to Moses Mabhida, of which is good, because Kaizer Chiefs do have a large number of fans who will be storming in the Moses Mabhida. And then Golden Arrows will be saying, we want to do the double over Kaizer Chiefs. Remember, we've beaten them 1-0 in the first round. Is it Ledwin Shitolo, the former Orlando Pirates, who scored in that game? So only getting one half chance, whereas Kaizer Chiefs on the day they missed plenty of chances, of which it's been their illness, so something that necessarily Nami needs to work on. And this time around they've got a Manqoba Mngqithi in charge, of which they looked improved for me, although they lost their last game against Makesi in Seshego. So that's where it makes this game interesting, because of both sides lost their last matches. So, and the Kaizer Chiefs also, they're feeling that pressure of saying, if we drop points here, Golden Arrows get to collect a victory. They will be trailing by 2 points, and they do have 3 games in hand, of which it makes things very, very tricky for Nasreddin Nabi and Kaizer Chiefs. And as we know, last season Kaizer Chiefs did not make it within the top 8. Comments are saying maybe they might repeat the same thing, because of they are really inconsistent. They're really missing easy chances, especially when I watched them against Cape Town City. I wasn't impressed with the likes of Mduzuzi Shabalala, whom his performance is on and off, something he needs to work on. Mfundo Vilakazi, he's always been brought in as a sub, so I think at some point he must just also make sure that when he gets a starting 11, he performs well, and make sure that they're very consistent, like Relebo Mufokeng, of which the Kokomelo Nesi, which as one is calling him, he keeps becoming consistent. And Makesi will host Stellenbosch at Seshego Stadium, so very interesting, because they want to survive the bottom 8 there. Whereas it's good because currently they've moved away from the relegation after winning 1-0 against the Golden Arrows, against SuperSport as well. So they're 10th on the log, which is it looks good. Then tomorrow there are 2 matches taking place, in fact 3. Polokwane City will host Richards Bay, who just defeated Kaizer Chiefs 2-0 recently before the break. So they've won 4 matches, they've drawn 1. So you can see that Papi Zotwane, Smoniso Gumete, Gabriel Martin, they're doing well in that team. So although I criticize that they must get a head coach, but so far I think they've got things in control when one is watching Richards Bay. With Polokwane City, Butimi Hafi has been struggling lately, and the team, remember at some point they were 2nd from the log, 3rd from the log. This time around they've dropped 6th, of which it's not looking good. I think there's too much pressure. They're playing at all. Peter Mokaba, he needs to get points, Butimi Hafi there. So TS Galaxy, under the leadership of Adnan Beganovic, I'm so impressed with this coach. You come in, you put the team on the basement of the log, number 16, you take over, the team is now number 3. There's a player called Zenan Zamovic, has just impressed me, scoring plenty of goals. He's amongst the top goal scorers, and you get how they won their last match. It was so impressive, beating SuperSport United 3-1, ending the journey of Gavin Hunt as SuperSport United head coach. It was just impressive to watch them playing like that. And this is a team, by the way, whom they lost number of players. Some of them abroad, some of them in different teams, but they're still doing well. Although I think Setramovic was on the same page of Gavin Hunt. You always complain about teams selling out players, but you don't deliver on the day. That's why he ended up resigning live on TV. So, and this time around, the coach is doing well, and he's collecting those points. They will be playing Marumo Gallants, of which they are also unpredictable. Remember, they defeated Cape Town City, who also ended the journey of Mushine Tukral at Athlone Stadium in its home backyard in Cape Town. So it is Abdeslam Awado, that's the coach, the new coach who took over from Dennis Malisela. This is the coach who also defeated Orlando Pirates 2-0. So you can see that it's trying to mix up things there with Zimtonga. There's a player called Zimtonga. Gabadino Mango's also coming with this wonderful form, of which is very impressive. They've brought in a goalkeeper called Kagiso Mlambo, whom I was just doubtful of his performance in the game against Sundowns when they lost in the first round 4-1. But this time around, he kept the team out against Orlando Pirates, and also they managed to progress in the semi-finals of the Nedbank Cup, which is good. So hopefully they will do well, but it's not going to be easy at 5:30 against the on-form Chase Galaxy at Mbombela Stadium. So SuperSport United will host Cape Town City. This is a battle for relegation because SuperSport are 15th of the law, Cape Town City are 13th. And you know, the game between the two sides has always been interesting, where they still take me the memory lane of Benny McCarthy when they played in two successions of the MTN 8 final. They come and play also in the Nedbank Cup. The game was decisive on penalties, where Ricardo Goss was the hero last season. This time around, first round, the very same Cape Town City managed to win 1-0. So are we going to see a draw? Are we going to see SuperSport United avenge the defeat? Because of where they are seated, they are not safe. And by the way, Andre Aranse is the interim head coach of the club. So let's wait and see. And by the way, we also got the news that they've brought back Onesmo Pasera in the technical team, the former player, the legend himself, because of he had to retire. The left back at 39. The former Kaizer Chiefs Maritzburg United as well. So
and
it looks interesting.
And
Wits as well. So it looks interesting. Sundowns are still top of the log with 58 points, followed by 4 Pirates with 43. Stellenbosch at number 3 with 35, level with Chess Galaxy at number 4 with 35. They're separated by a goal difference there. Sugun United at number 5 with 34 points, Polokwane City at number 6 with 31 points, and then Amazulu at number 7 with 30 points, and Kaizer Chiefs completes the top 8 with 29 points, and Chipa United at number 9 with 25 points. The number 9, number 10, number 11, Golden Arrows, Richards Bay, the KZN side, they are making it interesting and say, Kaizer Chiefs, we've played 20 games, that will be Chipa United. We've got 2 games in hand. You need to win your matches, else you'll get out of top 8. So it's very, very tricky. But I think when we come back next week, we'll also give them the results and look ahead to some of the matches.
Going back to the Kaizer Chiefs versus the Golden Arrows fixture that's taking place, I believe, this afternoon.
Yes.
You touched a very good statistic that Golden Arrows will be looking forward to get a double of Kaizer Chiefs. I believe Arrows, they beat Chiefs 1-0 in the first round. And then just fast forward to 2 weeks back before we went for the FIFA international break. I believe that was the last time Kaizer Chiefs, they went to Durban and they lost to Richards Bay FC, if I'm not mistaken. That was in Durban. So they lost against the Golden Arrows in the first round. They are playing them this afternoon. Just 2 weeks back, the last game, Kaizer Chiefs, they were in action. They were in the very same Durban, and they lost against the very same Durban side, Richards Bay FC. So by the look of things, it looks like the stakes are the odds are stacked against the Kaizer Chiefs going to this afternoon. So how do you fancy Orlando Kaizer Chiefs' chances with all those odds against them, having lost against the Golden Arrows in the first round? And the Golden Arrows now, they've got the new mentor at the helm in the foremanship of Manqoba Mngqithi, who's also a master tactician of his own. So he might come up with a new tactics and outsmart Kaizer Chiefs. And that mental block, we've just lost the last time they were in Durban, they lost again. So it looks like I said, the odds are stacked completely. It is completely a tall order in as far as Kaizer Chiefs are concerned going to this encounter against the Abafana Best 10.
When you're stating those stats against the KZN side, you take me back to Amazulu as well. Remember they came at FNB, they held Kaizer Chiefs to a 2-2 draw. So you can see KZN side has been a good team for Kaizer Chiefs this season. You see, so like I'm thinking, it's gonna be a tough one, but to be honest, look at this record against Kaizer Chiefs.
I mean, after all,
it's unpredictable. This is a team who knocked Kaizer Chiefs. I still remember when Kaizer Chiefs in 2008 won the MTN 8 against Sundowns on penalties. The following week they were playing Telkom knockout last 16. He came in and thrashed Kaizer Chiefs 4-1. I still remember the game took place at Chatsworth Stadium. So he's got something against Kaizer Chiefs, of which it makes it interesting because of he already knows what to expect. As you know, he's already played Kaizer Chiefs, I think 3 times while he was at Sundowns. So Kaizer Chiefs, the funny part, they took their home game to Moses Mabhida in the first round. This time around, Arrows are the ones hosting, and it's a big mistake because of they lost. And you lose that game because of your very own players missed chances of which they could have done better in that game. So, but it wasn't to be. You are Ranga Chivaviro, Shabalala. So I couldn't understand at some point. I'm like, the coach was just depressed. I'm like, I don't know what to do because of we keep getting those chances. And statistically, if you can check, Bonello, Kaizer Chiefs gets into opposition's areas too much, more than all the teams, including your Mamelodi Sundowns. But they're not taking their chances, of which it can work against them that they might not even make it within the top 8. Today, they must just go out and win. But I think I foresee a draw because of both of them. They're coming from back of losses.
It is going to be a tough one indeed. The Kaizer Chiefs, they visit KwaZulu-Natal. Let's take a banana. They interlock horns with the home side. Abafana base Lamontville, that is Lamontville Golden Arrows. Abafana best 10. Who is going to come up at triumph? Will it be Mangoba Mniti or will it be the Tunisian mentor in the formation of Nazrin Nabi? Kaizer Chiefs faithfuls, keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope come end of the season you will definitely be home and dry in that top 8 bracket. Otherwise, we might see more of the same what we saw last season. Now we're moving away from Betway Premiership and go straight to Motsepe Foundation Championship. I saw Durban City yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, it seems like the journey is coming of returning back to the Betway Premiership.
Yes.
They're really impressive. Let's give credit to Coach Simo Tlatla. It's just fantastic. I also saw him during the Nedbank Cup when he lost to, is it Marumo Gallants on penalties?
Yes, on penalties.
I'm like, they played so well. It really frustrated Marumo Gallants. But unfortunately, the goalkeeper let them down. Ayanda Mjali. This is a player who played in the PSL before, Chipa United as well as Free State Stars.
Yes.
So why can't you save penalties? Because of, you know what to expect from the Premiership side. So that's where I felt you've got your, what is it we call, your Jocelyn Kamatuka,
Yes.
Sazi Samakawana, those players who also campaigned in the Premiership before. That they tried their best, but then the goalkeeper let them down. But at least in this time around, they managed a 1-0 victory against Uppington City of Brendan Truter?
Brendan Truter,
yes. Who was sacked by the very same Amazulu. You talk about what you call Skukuni United as well. So, but it wasn't to be so. It's well done to him. And in some of the fixtures that are taking place, Durban City, should I say Black Leopards will host Baroka in Popo Derby.
Yes.
Cape Town Spurs will host Kruger United. Cape Town Spurs are not safe. There's currently a 15th on the log, and Smithendorp. So I keep asking myself, why did they took long to let Smithendorp continue coaching the club? Because the games are getting thinner, and you know, 4 points are very, very crucial, but it's not getting results. Maybe it might be because they let go of Kumane Busaka to Stellenbosch, Ashley Cupido, the striker, to Stellenbosch, and then Arsenal Velebai wanted to leave the club and join Kaizer Chiefs, but Cape Town Spurs blocked the move. So I don't know why, because of the players still young, the future looks bright. So I think that's the blunder that management also made there. So Kasserek Stars will host the Roma United, Hungry Lions will host the University of Pretoria, and then JDR Stars will host the Milford FC. Milford FC, they also got rid of Konyi, the coach there, Mandla Konyi, and then the very same coach who defeated Kaizer Chiefs in the Nedbank Cup is now going to coach the club. Remember they call him the gynecologist, Tlanti Popoma, if I remember the name so well. Yes, Tlanti Popoma. He will be coaching this team going forward, because of they were second on the log. Now they've dropped it tremendously, badly there. So, and Orbit College, the one whom we saw, the goalkeeper Moerane, playing for the squad Lesotho there.
Yes.
So he's the second choice goalkeeper, but in that game he did well for me. As I've said it, that it's always difficult to play against a team of a low block, and I think he saved the team's splashes, because of had Bafana been clicker that day, I think 10 to 15 goals they would have conceded, but he did excellently there in that game. So they will be playing High Berry, and then tomorrow only one game is taking place, Pretoria Callis up against Venda Football Academy. So very interesting there. Durban City are still top of the log with 45 points after that victory. Kruger United on 36 points, second from there, trailing by 9 points. So it's Orbit College, 11 on 36 points as well. JDR Stars, Kasserek Stars at number 5 with 35 points. Milford FC, as I've said, they've dropped at number 6 with 32 points. Black Leopards with 31 points. And also Baroka at number 8 with 39 points. So I think the Limpopo teams as well must push up. Cape Town City, like I said, at number 15 with 22 points. And lastly, Rumo United. You can see that they must also pull up their socks, and Smithendorp.
Job well done indeed to Durban City. Looking at the gap that they've opened with the second place they outfit, it looks like it definitely looks like their road back to the elite league is very, very clear. So it looks like come next season, Durban City, they might be back in the elite league. That is a Betway Premiership that will see a number of the Durban sides increase come next season. So let's hope they will keep a focus and keep the eyes eyes on the ball and eventually get that promotion in as far as Betway Premiership is concerned. That is the team from KwaZulu-Natal, Durban City. And then now we're changing gears, moving elsewhere, and then we land safely out in England. We look what's happening in as far as the English Premier League is concerned.
We do have big fixtures that will be coming up next week. With this weekend, there are no fixtures. The fixtures will return on the 1st of April. On Tuesday, the Wolves up against the West Ham there at 9:15 in the evening. Arsenal also will host Fulham there at 9:15. Nottingham Forest up against Man United. I think Man United also need to improve because they're currently 13th on the log, so it's not looking good. So the battle currently is between Liverpool, Arsenal, but then it's a point gap of 12 points. So I don't know if they will be able to cover, because of when I check, some of the teams, they've played 29 matches, of which 9 matches to go to complete the season. So you can see that Liverpool, I remember the Holas Coco owner there, he was so happy. So hopefully they will do well. When you blessed us in the studio there. So on Wednesday, Southampton will host Crystal Palace at 9:15, and so is Bournemouth up against Ipswich Town. Brighton will host Aston Villa. Newcastle will host Brentford, and lastly, the Battle of the City, the Man City up against Leicester City, and this is how the fixtures will be on Tuesday and Wednesday. So when we come back on Saturday, we'll bring the results and look ahead to some of the matches that will be taking place. So it's really happening. The games are coming thick and fast in the EPL.
Oh, the reason the EPL is the off this weekend, it is simply because this weekend the FA Cup takes the centre stage out in England. Talking of FA Cup, the first game gets underway come at 2 o'clock this afternoon, where Fulham play host to Crystal Palace, while the high-flying Nottingham Forest they're on the road to Brighton. That game gets underway come at 7 p.m. tonight, and then come tomorrow still with the FA Cup out in England. Aston Villa, they're on the road to Preston North End, and then the last game in as far as FA Cup quarterfinals are concerned, we'll get to see the last season's finalist, that is runners-up, that is Manchester City. They're on the road to Bournemouth. So by the look of things, if Manchester City, they want to save some blushes, want to save their bad season, they definitely have to go all the way and try to win a FA Cup. Otherwise, 2024-2025 season might just go down as one of Manchester City's worst season. So they're in the FA Cup quarterfinals. They do have a chance to go to the semis and all the way to the finals if they are to save blushes in as far as this season is concerned. So Manchester City, they've got a date with Bournemouth come tomorrow evening, and that is 5:30 South African time. That's how things stand in as far as the English football is concerned. And then moving away from English football and straight to Spain, I don't know whether we do have a feature, what's going on in as far as La Liga is concerned this weekend.
There are also, as you know, the majority were on international break, so it's back to system, and there are fixtures taking place this afternoon. Real Sociedad will play Valladolid at 3 o'clock, and then Espanyol will also host Atletico Madrid. I think Atletico Madrid will be saying, let's just close that gap, because of currently Barcelona tops the league with 60 points, followed by Real Madrid with 60 points at number 2, and then Atletico Madrid comes by on 56 points. So it's an interesting battle with the top 3 when I watch the leagues there. So, and in the other fixtures, Alaves will host Rayo Vallecano at 7:30 in the evening, and then 10 o'clock there's Real Madrid up against Leganés. So I also they will want to capitalize as well. And tomorrow Getafe will host Villarreal at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then Atletico Madrid will battle it out with Osasuna there at 6:30, and then Valencia up against Mallorca at 6:30 as well, and also the Betis up against Sevilla at 9 o'clock, and lastly Celta Vigo up against Las Palmas. As I stated about the top 3, and now number 4 Atletico Bilbao on 52 points. They're trailing Madrid by 4 points. Atletico Madrid at number 3 by 4 points. Then there's Villarreal at number 5 with 44 points, and then Betis at number 6 with 44 points. The Mallorca at number 7 with 40 points, and Celta Vigo completes the top 8 with 39 points. This is how things are happening as far as Spanish La Liga is concerned.
Oh yes, that's how things are in as far as Spanish football is concerned. That is a La Liga for you. Now we're moving away from Spain straight to Italy, and then we look at what's going on in as far as Serie A is concerned. That is the Italian league. We see come this afternoon. We do have some bit of a gold rush rather at 10 to 4 o'clock South African time, where we see Venezia, they play hosted to Bologna, Y Como welcome Empoli, and then the Old Lady Juventus, they welcome Genoa, and then Roma, they're on the road to Lisa. That game gets underway come 25-10 South African time, and then come tomorrow we'll get to see Cagliari. They play host to Monza, while the most improved Fiorentina, they play host to Atalanta. The defending champions Inter Milan, they welcome Udinese. Napoli, and they've got a date with the boys from San Siro. It's going to be a tough one indeed. Napoli versus AC Milan. That game gets underway come 25-9 South African time. It's going to be a tough one indeed. Napoli versus AC Milan. Don't forget that 25-9 South African time. And then on Monday, Parma, they're on the road to Verona, and then the last one for this weekend, we get to see Lazio. They play host to Torino. Still in Italy, let's have a look at the log standings in as far as Serie A is concerned. The defending champions in the form and shape of Inter Milan, they are sitting comfortable at the summit. They are followed by Napoli. At number 3, we've got Atalanta number 4, Bologna, the Old Lady Juventus, they're at number 5, Lazio at number 6, Roma number 7, and the most improving Fiorentina, they close the gap in the top 8 bracket. But I must say that I'm tempted to mention that the boys from San Siro, AC Milan, they're sitting at number 10, and they will be visiting the second place, Napoli. So needless to say that that game is going to be a cracker of the game when the second place, Napoli, lock horns with the boys from San Siro. That is AC Milan for you. Time is definitely not on our side, but before we wrap things up, let's quickly look at what is happening in as far as motor racing is concerned.
I'll start with the F1 motor racing. It took back to our conversation with remember what you said? You said to me, I don't see Max Verstappen on the podium.
Am I laughing or am I laughing?
When I was doing my preparations for the show, I'm like, hey, let's warn me.
I warned you. And
you know, as you know, you're off air with the Australian Grand Prix, and guess what? Lando Norris was the winner with the McLaren with that 58 laps. So this time, at least he managed to appear on the podium second. He arrived second, and then there's also George Russell. So, and then the week later, there was the Chinese Grand Prix as well. So this one was based on 56 laps, and Oscar Piastri, he was the winner.
Boy.
So you see, Lando Norris as well.
Still no sign for your Max Verstappen.
You see, this time around, I think he struggled because he arrived 4th, so he was not part of the podium. As Lando Norris, you know, he did well in the Australian Grand Prix. This time around, he is second, and then there's George Russell as well. So you can see that the McLaren guys mean business as far as the podium is concerned. So far in the last 2 races they had. So I looked into the standings as well. I realized that Lando Norris tops the standings with 44 points. Then Max Verstappen, I think just collecting that second and the 4th. So you added them 36 points. And then George Russell as well, 35 points. Then Oscar Piastri are almost with the top 5 due to time constraints with 34 points, and Antonelli there with 22 points at number 5. So I'm looking also with as far as the cars are concerned. McLaren 78 points.
No surprise.
No surprises. I thought we was going to see Red Bull here. No. Mercedes with 53 points at number 2. Red Bull number 3, 36 points. Then Ferrari at number 4 with 35 points. And lastly, the Williams there at number 5. But as I thought I was going to see look at Hamilton, George Hamilton.
Yes.
But it's not there, so I don't know why. So we're talking about the most achieved winner here, 106 titles. But
Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, I should say it's not Raymond, Lewis Hamilton, yes. So I was expecting to see him as well campaigning here, but it's not to be. So, and as far as Liam Lawson, that is the new driver for Red Bull, the teammate to Max Verstappen. So he also hasn't done well so far. So it's very, very interesting when one looks at it. And I've got good news also for the viewers that motorsport is finally back. Tomorrow, there is kickstart tomorrow with the USA MotoGP. So let's see, with the likes of Francisco Banaya, your Mark Marquez, the Brett Binder, our very own South African, will do well. So it's going to be an interesting one. You are Johan Zarco. So it makes this fantastic race very interesting. But when we come back next week, we'll definitely give them the feedback and look ahead to the return of the F1 motor racing, which will be taking place after this particular MotoGP. That will be the Chinese Grand Prix on the weekend of the 6th. So it's going to be interesting one. Let's see if Max Verstappen will try to do well. The McLaren guys, Lando Norris, your Oscar Piastri, your George Russell will do well. So it makes this race an interesting start because no one wants to lose.
No one wants to lose. That is definitely the order of the day. That's definitely that talks straight to Max Verstappen, who's still yet to win a race this season. So, by the look of things, it looks like Max Verstappen continues with his poor form that he ended last season with. And this season, he seems to be continuing. So, by the look of things, if come 6 races, and Max Verstappen doesn't get his act together, so maybe this season Max Verstappen might not win might not defend
this title. You see, and then Liam Lawson, his new teammate, must come to the party as well. But you can see that by his standard, we don't want him second or third. He must always be top. But he seems to be struggling, just like he completed the end of last season, so it's not looking good for him.
Doesn't look good indeed. That is Max Verstappen. But let's hope that he will get his form back. Like they always say, form is what? Temporary.
But class is permanent.
So Max Verstappen, for his sake, let's hope he will prove us otherwise and prove to us that what you've just said, that form is temporary,
but
class is permanent. So Max Verstappen, go all out and prove us otherwise. That's how we come to the end of today's show. Modiba, time is definitely not on our side. I guess it's time for us to sign off.
Very true. And yeah, you see, they've got plenty of options to watch. Just to hold on that remote. There's football, there's motor racing, there's tennis, there's rugby, there's a lot. So as you know, fans, they always support different sporting codes. So as we come back next week, we'll also bring the feedback and look ahead to some of the actions taking place. And this was Sports Geek. And I'm also Modiba Peter, your very own sports analyst, and see you next weekend.
Oh yes, I see you next weekend indeed. Talking of next weekend, let's hope by the time we return next weekend, the Bafana Tebogo Mokoena saga would have been concluded
and will have been revealed,
and then our 3 points will be saved, will not be deducted. Let's hope our 3 points will not be deducted from Bafana, and the matter would have been concluded by that time, and then we can breathe a huge sigh of relief as the South Africans, as Bafana are faithful, so that come September this year, when Bafana continue with their FIFA World Cup qualification against Lesotho and Nigeria, will only be needing maybe one win to make that qualification for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted out in America, Mexico, and Canada. On that note, I guess it is time for us to officially sign off and say, let's do this once again. Come next week here on Nirvana World FM. Your beat, your music, same time, same place. That is between 11 and 1 p.m. And the show is a Sports Geek with Sponelo Ngobo. Till then, I am Sponelo Ngobo, and it is
bye-bye. Keep the passion.
Keep the passion burning.